Willkommen bei VTOL VR. Werbung wird abgeschaltet. Oh, da kommt was hoch. Das sieht geil aus. Cool. Ich bin immer wieder begeistert. Allein vom Startbildschirm hier. Gut. Dann starten wir mal das Ganze. Kommt was rein? Nein. Start. So. Pilot, das bin ich. Und wir werden uns heute den AHA 94 anschauen. Tutorials. Wir beginnen mit dem Intro, wo uns erklärt wird, wie das Cockpit aufgebaut ist. Viel Spaß! Und Lei. So, jetzt nochmal ganz kurz resetten. Helm aufsetzen. Ne, geht nicht. So, da sind wir.
Welcome to the AH-94 attack helicopter. This session will serve as a general introduction to the vehicle. I'll give you a quick overview of the vehicle and cockpit so you can begin to familiarize yourself with where everything is. Don't worry about memorizing everything now. We'll go into more details on each part in later sessions. Let's begin by closing the canopy door. Grab this yellow handle and pull it shut.
Okay.
The AH-94 is a twin-turboshaft attack helicopter with a tandem cockpit for 2 crew members. It has a traditional rotor configuration of a large main rotor and a small tail rotor.
Okay.
The helicopter can be flown from either the rear pilot seat or the front co-pilot gunner seat. You can decide how to split up responsibilities, but in general, the pilot in the back flies while the co-pilot in the front controls the weapons and sensors. It all depends on the situation and your preferences.
Oh ja.
Now let's quickly go over each of the components in the cockpit. Starting on the right, we have the main battery switch.
Den habe ich gerade geschaltet, um die Kamera anzumachen.
The auxiliary power unit switch.
Oh. Okay.
Starter switches for the 2 turbine engines.
Mhm.
And the communications panel. On the main instrument panel, we have 2 multifunction displays, or MFDs. The upfront display, or UFD, which can show fuel, turbine, and rotor status, as well as autopilot controls and various warnings. A radar warning receiver. An attitude indicator. Vertical speed indicator.
Mhm.
Rotor RPM, torque, and engine RPM gauges. And master armament switches.
Zum Ballern.
At the top, we have power and brightness controls for the head-mounted display.
Haben wir, ja.
And down below are the controls for the interior and exterior lights. On the left side of the panel, we have the rotor fold switch for storage.
Okay.
The rotor brake switch. The flight control indicator, which shows which pilot is currently in control of the aircraft.
Mhm.
The parking brake switch. And the landing gear switch. Going down the left panel, we have the countermeasure stores count. The engine power lever. the stores jettison panel, and a music player.
Ja, muss auch sein.
Finally, and most importantly, are the flight controls. On the left, we have the collective, which collectively adjusts the pitch of the rotor blades so we can go up and down. And here we have the cyclic, which is used to control pitch and roll by adjusting the rotor blades independently as they cycle around. And the anti-torque pedals, which control the tail rotor for yaw control. Depending on your setup, you might be controlling these by twisting the cyclic. Go ahead and jump over to the front seat by pressing this button. Many of the components here are the same, with the exception of what we call the TDAC, which is the display and control system in front of you. The co-pilot can use this to control weapons and sensors without having to touch the flight controls. This concludes the general overview of the AH-94 cockpit. You can move on to the next session to learn about how to get this thing started. See you there.
Okay. Finish Mission und nächste Mission. So. How to start up. Da sind wir wieder.
Welcome back. In this session, we'll go over the startup and shutdown procedures. Go ahead and pull the door shut. Jet turbines tend to be a bit noisy. Before starting up, let's make sure that everything's in the right state. The power lever should be pulled all the way back in the off position.
Check.
The collective should be all the way down.
Check.
The parking brake should be on.
Check.
And the rotor should be unfolded with the switch in the off position.
Check.
Okay, the area is clear, so let's start by turning on the main battery. This will supply power to all of the aircraft's electrical components. Now turn on the auxiliary power unit, or APU. The engine starters use up a lot of power, so we're going to need the APU to keep the battery charged. Power on the UFD and set it to the status display. This display mirrors what the analog gauges show, but you may prefer to see it here. With the APU spooled up, we can disengage the rotor brake and fire up the left engine starter.
Linke Turbine.
This system will spin up the turbine to a suitable RPM to begin combustion. Running two starters can often overload the power supply, so I'd start one at a time. Watch the engine RPM rise to about 10 or 12%, marked by the yellow region.
Simmer.
Now we can click the power lever up to I. The starter will run the turbine up to about 30% and then automatically shut itself off. Keep an eye on the starter indicator light. Once it goes out, you can start the other engine. Okay, go ahead and start up the right engine.
So, Licht ist aus. Wir können also den rechten starten. Der fährt hoch. Und kriegt gleich
Now both
Treibstoff.
engines are fired up and running stable at idle. You can advance the power lever all the way forward to flight power. Watch the rotor RPM rise. Once it reaches the green region of the gauge, you'll notice that the engines will throttle down a bit to maintain the proper rotor RPM. This helicopter is equipped with a power governor, which means that you don't need to worry about applying the proper throttle to maintain rotor RPM. Just leave the power lever in the flight position and the system handles it for you. Since the engines are now generating power for the electrical system, you can turn the APU off. Now let's turn on each of the displays. At this point, the helicopter is ready to take off.
Das gefällt
You
mir.
can practice taking off and hovering in another session, so let's go over the shutdown procedure. First, turn the displays back off. Make sure the collective is pushed down.
Yep.
Then just pull the power lever all the way back to off.
Idle
This will
off.
cut the fuel supply to the engines and they'll start to wind down. After allowing the engines to spool down a bit, we can engage the rotor brake. Now all that's left is to turn off the main battery.
Noch nicht. Super.
And that's it. This concludes the AH-94 startup and shutdown procedures. See you next time.
Dann können wir wieder die Türen öffnen. Sehr gut. Okay. Nächste Mission. So, was hat er denn noch hier drin? Keine Flugübung. Okay.
Welcome. Today we'll learn about the Target Acquisition Designation Site, or TADS, and how to use the gun alongside it. To make things easy, we can do this all here on the ground, so you don't have to worry about flying.
Sehr gut.
Although these systems are accessible from either seat, let's switch to the front seat since the co-pilot typically handles this. Start by turning on the battery and APU. Now turn on the HMD and MFDs. For this tutorial, let's turn on some hints so you can see what the controls do. Open the options page.
So,
And enable
Optionspage.
control hints. This will show labels when you grab the collective, cyclic, or TDAC and can be turned on or off at any time. The primary targeting system is the TADS, and you'll most often be using it with the TDAC, which stands for TADS Electronic Display and Control. That's the central MFD with the controls attached to it here. Go ahead and open the TADS and power it on. Designate the TADS as the sensor of interest. This works just like the targeting pod in other vehicles, except that the SOI controls are on the left hand. Grab the TDAC controls using the grip buttons on your controllers. While the TDAC controls are held, use the left thumb control to slew the sensor and the right thumb control to zoom in and out.
Ah, sehr gut.
Now arm your weapons by pressing the arm switch. With the weapon system armed, you can switch weapons by using the thumb button on the right-hand TDAC control and fire by using the right trigger. The weapon firing and switching functions are the same when holding the cyclic. Switch to the gun by cycling through the weapons with the weapon. Let's make sure the gun is in slave mode so the turret will point where we want it. Open the Equipment MFD page. Select the gun. and make sure the gimbal mode is slaved.
Slaved.
When the
Okay.
gun is slaved, it will either track to where your head is pointing or where the TADS is pointing, if the TADS is the SOI. Use the TADS to find and designate the target on the range, and use the right trigger to fire. Nice shooting. Now disable SOI and the TADS and use your head to shoot the target on your left.
Ah, okay. Left wird... Ach, da. Das
Good.
macht Spaß.
You can also set the TADS as SOI and enable head mode to have the TADS track your head and display its view in your HMD. When in this mode, pressing in on the left thumbstick on the TDAC will lock the TADS to where you've pointed it. As you can see, the TADS and the weapons can be controlled independently or in unison. If you have a co-pilot, you or your co-pilot can take control of either system by using the SOI button and the master arm button respectively. When you have weapons control, your arm button will indicate red, as it is now. If your co-pilot has weapons control, then your arm button will indicate yellow. Go ahead and use any method you choose to destroy the other targets downrange.
Weg ist er. Das ist so cool.
Good work. Now let's go back to the rear seat.
Na?
Since this seat doesn't have a TDAC, it has a second grip on the end of the collective that has the same functions as the left grip on the TDAC. Just as in the front, the right-hand controls of the TDAC are mirrored on the cyclic, except for the thumbstick, which can be used for trim. That's all for today. If you wish, you can go ahead and start up the engines and practice targeting and shooting while flying. Have fun!
Have fun. Das ist doch schön. Gut. Haben wir das auch? Haben wir das auch gelernt, ne? Gut. Haben wir hier eine... So, S-Kamp. Das ist mein Kollege, den will ich aber... Könntest du mir bitte den Camcorder wiedergeben? Switch, komme ich da ran? Ja. Das ist so cool. So, da bin ich wieder. Hallo. So. Wo wollen wir jetzt hin? Navigation. Naja, da geht's jetzt nichts. Dann müssen wir wahrscheinlich in eine andere Mission eintauchen. Ja, war doch gut. Also, Game. Exit. So. Hier gibt's jetzt nichts mehr. Ach so, ne. Das haben wir ja schon gemacht. Back. Select Vehicle, Quick Flight, Target Practice. Selected. Probieren wir mal. Jetzt muss ich ihn ausrüsten, oder? Oh, da habe ich ja gar keine Ahnung von. Also bevor wir das hier machen, muss ich mich noch ein bisschen einlernen. Dann machen wir erstmal hier Flight Practice. Los geht's! So.
Get up and running and prepare for takeoff. Your first challenge will be to rise to 50 feet and then land right back where you started.
Okili. Batterie an. APU an. So, jetzt kann ich aber schon mal die MFDs alle anmachen. Wir haben genug Strom, wenn die APU läuft. So. Und wir schauen uns das Ganze mal von außen an. Ihr müsst mich ja nicht immer sehen, gell? Das sieht doch gut aus, oder? Könnt ihr damit leben? So. Home. Also gut. Rotum. Erste Turbine starten. Turbine auf Idle. So, wir können die rechte Turbine starten. Jetzt können wir Power geben. Und wir heben ab. Bisschen hovern. Bisschen höher hier. Nochmal drehen hier. Zum Fliegen benutze ich Ruderpedals, die ich angeschlossen habe und verlinkt habe. Weil ich das mit dem Twisten und dem Daumenstück nicht so ganz mag.
Okay, it's high enough. Bring it back down to your pad.
Okay, jetzt sollen wir wieder zurück aufs Pad. Na, wir wollen das ordentlich machen. Oh Mann. Los geht's. Langsam.
Okay, now for a short hop over to the next pad.
Immer schön aufpassen.
Alright, slight turn and a little bit further to the next pad.
Okay. Na, hier probieren wir nochmal eine andere Kamera aus. Die wechselt jetzt immer, mal schauen, wie das rauskommt. Muss ich ein bisschen mit der Steuerung vertraut machen, da man keine Mittelstellung hat, kein Feedback hat. Ist das ein bisschen gewöhnungsbedürftig, vor allem wenn man vorher immer so mit Joystick geflogen ist.
The next stop is a smaller landing pad in the suburbs.
Na dann los.
Okay, this one's between a bunch of high-rise buildings. You're gonna have to be careful descending into the landing zone.
Oh, Vorsicht. Ich vergesse immer, dass ich den Stick fest im Klammer halte. Wenn ich dann die Hand bewege, dann geht das Stick gleich mit. Und dann habe ich natürlich Probleme. So. Da drüben. Inmitten der Stadt. Wo viele Wände und viele Häuser sind. Zuerst mal wieder hier Geschwindigkeit reduzieren. Das ist mir ein bisschen zu schnell. Und wo ist das Landingpad jetzt? Oh Mann, genau hier dazwischen. Da werde ich ja schon nervös von Zuschauen, um hier durchzukommen.
Getting a little trickier. The next one's on a rooftop.
Oh Mann. Erstmal hier zwischen den Gebäuden wieder raus. Ohne irgendwo anzustoßen. So, die Decke habe ich passiert. Ach du Scheiße, da oben ist er. Oh Mann. Langsam anfliegen, noch langsamer landen und schnell abstürzen. Das ist doch ein guter Plan.
Nice. Now we're gonna hop from one roof to another.
So. Das ist auch der Hauptgrund, warum ich nämlich noch meine Parkbremse anhab. Wenn ich die jetzt nicht anhalte hätte, dann würde ich immer übers Dach rüberschießen. So. Nächstes Dach, nächstes Glück. Wo ist es? Folge dem grünen Hasen. Ne, dem weißen Hasen hieß es doch immer, ne? Hier ist es der grüne Strich. Wie kann ich hier am besten einfliegen? Um die Antenne rum? Nee. Na komm, rum. Und langsamer werden. Langsamer. Das ist ja ein fieses Gebäude hier. Naja gut, da wäre ich jetzt auch drauf gelandet, aber das ist ja nicht mein Ziel. Mein Ziel ist der hier. Langsam. Und ruhig. Ruhig. Bringen hier wieder ein bisschen Ruhe rein und vor allem nicht die Antenne. Nicht die Antenne, nein. Oh Mann. Das war's. Heute habe ich kein Glück mit dem... Wo bin ich jetzt? Mission failed. Killing by G-Force. Okay. Finish Mission. Müssen wir noch ein bisschen trainieren. Aber ihr seht, es macht einen Riesenspaß. Also, einfach nachspielen. Tschüss. Euer Olli.